Oh, Everton 2, Manchester United 2. Where did that come from? My goodness me. Talk about going through the gambit of emotions in that game. Manchester United's final game at Goodison Park today. I mean, I genuinely, guys, I don't know where to begin. I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. This is the full-time viewer. Members can call in, have their say. If you wish to become a member, you can do so. Links in the video description is pinned in the chat. You can click the join button. You can get involved. If you are a member, you can go over to the community tab on the YouTube page, find the link there. Members can only see it. For 60 minutes, 65 minutes, shocking. I mean, first half, we've been bad all season, right? We've been bad all season. That first half might top it as the worst performance that I've seen from United this season. I mean, shocking. And what was I saying before kickoff? I was saying my biggest concern, Flex and myself mentioned it on the match preview. The thing that really concerned me going into this game was that Everton team will want it more. They'll show more intensity. They've got more than us physically. And that really worries me. And I know those players, we know that team, they cannot compete with that. They cannot get up for that. That is a concern. And that is what we saw. 45 minutes, 60 minutes of just lethargy, couldn't be asked. And then, a lot of people will give them shit. And look, towards the end of the game, had it gone a different way, could have cost us when it comes to the penalty. But Bruno Fernandes, fair play to him, a captain's performance in the sense of pick the team up by the scruff of the neck, takes a free kick, hits a handball, takes the next one, puts it in the back of the net, really out of nothing. And then it's funny, isn't it? It's funny what belief will do. It's funny what belief will do to you, because after that, we were the better team after that. We looked so much better. We looked lively. Every time we went forward, it looked like we caused them problems. Obviously, Ugarte's goal, brilliant finish. I was thinking Luis Enrique saying he hasn't got technical ability. It's a brilliant volley, gets it in the back of the net. And then you got the go. You're going to right. See, once again, and again, spare me the belief and all that. That's the level of intensity that you need to show. Now, Everton, in fairness, backed off, dropped probably 10 yards in defense, backed off in terms of intensity as well. And it wasn't a good performance overall. Last half hour was better. But what I will say is matches aren't played over 45 minutes. They're played over 90, played over 100 minutes this time around. And if you'd have offered me before the match, you probably, if you saw the pre-match on the match view, if you'd have offered me a point going into this one, Everton along with Arsenal are the two most informed teams in the Premier League. If you said that you can lead Goodison Park with a point, I'd go, I don't care how we get it. Thank you very much. And that's what it is. It's not to say that that Man United performance today was great. It's not to say that I'm happy with that, because the large majority of it, I'm not happy with it whatsoever. But I'll take it. I will take a point, and we're still chipping away to get to 40. You know what I mean? And it's a point more than I thought we were going to get today. As far as the VAR decision, the penalty decision at the end, I'm surprised by it. Not in the sense that I think they got the wrong decision. I actually think they got the right one. I'm surprised by it because, and I can somewhat understand the frustration maybe from Everton fans, which will be whenever there's a decision that's been given on pitch, particularly like a coming together, get chalked off. When does that ever happen? How often do you see that get overturned, the referee's decision? But I think overall it's the right decision. Because and thing is, Manchester United fans will know this better than anyone, because we had like Ashley Young playing for us for like nearly a decade. He does that. How many times have Manchester United won a penalty with the whole Ashley Young dangle the leg in already on the way down? Because you can tell when he's going down, because he goes down like this. He goes down like that. His body sort of straightens up completely, and he goes whoosh like that. So when he was doing that, he fouled bad contact, he went down, and the referee bought it. But when you look at it back, it's not enough. Referee caved to pressure. And look, fair play to the VAR, because I think, and I'm not just saying this from a United point of view, I think they got that right. But I'm just incredibly surprised because you just don't see it. You just do not see the referee's decision get overturned. I'm glad that it's gone that way. I would love to see that way more often. in terms of the VAR going to hell with it. I know that we got to give the referees, integrity, blah, blah, blah. But it's also about having the right decision. It's also about coming to the right decision. So it's a heck of a talking point of a game to get into. We'll get to your calls in just a second. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. I'll take a point. Horrific performance for the majority of the game. But you know what? I'll take it. Some of the players are awful. I really, 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 I'll be honest, I really, really, at halftime and maybe 55 minutes in, I started to, probably the first time I've started to worry for Ruben Amorim, to be honest. I thought, this isn't going well. And to be honest, it hasn't really gone away that much, but you just couldn't lose. I mean, in the manner of which we were losing. I mean, I know, again, people expected us to lose, but it was that bad that you went, it's still only fair. Like, there's time to go to the end of the season, but credit, he made some subs worked out. Thought Garnacho did well when he came on. Thought Cheeto did well, actually, when he came on too. Patrick Dorg is probably our best player on the pitch. I know, obviously, Bruno picks us up, but throughout the game, most consistently, he's probably one of our best players. So I think with Ruben Amorim at this point, it's just getting to the end of the season, trying to pick up points, trying to pick up points and victories and get to the summer. Let's get to your super chats and we'll get to the calls. Ronnie says, Cheeto needs to stay in the first team for me. And United Love says, fans are annoying. This Everton team drew with the best team in the league and Liverpool were lucky to get a point. We got a point, albeit not playing well, but we say this is the worst United team in history. We can't have it both ways. It's a good point from a bad performance. You know what? I roundly agree with that. I do roundly agree with that, United Love. When we're 2-0 down and we're losing, we're angry. And this is where it goes back to, isn't it? We're angry because we see it. And it's one thing to say, I expect us to win, or I expect us to lose, rather. But then when you see it, you're like, this is awful. I can't watch this. These teams are terrible, blah, blah, blah. The way we played for the majority of the game, to get a point out of that against an informed team, I will take it. And if the response to that is standards is on the floor, I'll go, yeah, did you see that game? Did you see how some of those players are? Yes. Yes, the standard is on the floor. For 60 minutes, they stunk out the joint. Like some of the worst performances I've seen all season, ever. Scratch that, ever, from Manchester United. So, yeah, the standard's well on the floor. well on the floor, obviously. But if you said to any Man United fan before kickoff, you can get a point today, we'll give you a point against Everton, who are one of the most informed teams in the league, you'd have gone, of course. Yeah, absolutely. I will have a point there. No problem at all. So I would take a point. It wasn't a good performance, but I will give credit in the sense of I did not see us coming back. We're scoring 2 goals. You're taking the piss. Us, Manchester United, recently scoring 2 goals. I was going 2-0 down. Shocking. Right, let's get to the calls. Let's get straight into it. Let's go to, let's start with Show. Show, what do you make of everything you saw today? What a game. Are you just happy to get away with a point, a bit like me?
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't really do comebacks, especially since we're in the holidays, really. So when we were 2-0 down, hadn't had a shot on target by that point as well, kind of just resigned to the defeat, as probably did most fans. So yeah, the fact that we got the 2 goals back, especially one of them being from a set piece, is kind of a bonus for us. We don't really do that much often. So yeah, 100%. Before the game, I was fearing the worst because like Everton, form team in the league. Yeah, so I would always taken a point, but I don't know. Look, I'm kind of worried about the performances. I can't lie. I just think during the time that Amrim's been here, I think he's been here like 3 full months now, maybe a bit longer, maybe a bit shorter. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of United fan base don't live in the reality that managers just don't have time anymore, right? So and I think there's a lot of fair and not fair terminology laws used in our fan base, but I think just dash that in the bin. There's no such thing as fair and not fair in football at the highest level, especially for coaches nowadays, because we know they just don't get time like they did maybe back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, right? And I look at someone like Amorim, and I look at most coaches around the world. When they take over a squad, even 2 years into their reign, they're still dealing with a lot of players from previous managers, right? I look at someone like Unai Emery. He's been at Villa quite a long time now, right? He's still got a lot of players from previous managers who I'm sure if you asked him, he would like to replace with some of his own. But you just don't get that luxury unless you're Pep. You only suffer for 4 months and you get 200 mil, right? So I look at Amorim and people say, well, in 18 months we'll judge it. The 18 months doesn't matter if your first 6 months are horrible because you won't get to 18 months. Whether that's fair or not fair doesn't matter. That's just the reality. That's just the reality of modern football nowadays. We've seen it. We see it at all clubs, right? So I just don't get this narrative where I hear a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't matter if we didn't lose today, right? We got the result. But like you said, the performance overall, pretty horrible, right? I don't understand this narrative.
Is that starting to worry you? Is that because that
Of
was my
course.
feeling going in, like, again, at halftime, just before we scored, because again, the Bruno goal really came out of nowhere, is I did for the first time start to think, I tell you what, there's still a bit to go of this season. And again, it's the thought process you can't keep losing, isn't it? Regardless of whatever you've said, whatever principles, or just,
Yeah.
right off the season, if you keep losing, and the manner of which the performances do feel like they're getting worse as well. So that's why this 30 minutes at the end was so surprising. Again,
Yeah, no,
I remember you using the word sustainability, is it? Is that
yeah.
sustainable?
No,
Is that
it's
really
not. It's
sustainable?
100%. It's not. It's not. That's what I'm worried about. Look, I'm not going to get involved because if this continues, you're going to get the split in the fan base again of the Amorim in, Amorim out again, like Ten Hag. I couldn't give a shit about that. I don't care if my manager's name is Ruben Amorim, Bob Smith, Sven Bjornsson, or Igor Kalashnikov. Right? It don't matter to me, right? I just look at the manager. I just try and like judge what I'm seeing. And in the 3 months that I've seen Amorim at United, I've not seen any improvement. I'll just be honest, I haven't. And that doesn't mean that I was hoping to see 100% level or even a 80% level, but you've got to see increment. You've got to see something that players can buy into, the club buys into, and the fans buy into. That's just how it is. And like, for example, like Varane's comments this week, right, were quite telling to me. Most of what he said I knew already, but the one thing he mentioned that stuck with me was that in the summer where fans were kind of rejoicing because of the FA Cup win and thought it was a turning point for Ten Hag, Varane said no, it was done. Players were done with Ten Hag after last season. The FA Cup did nothing for them, right? So it just shows that when you have such a bad season like we did last season, we finished 8th last season, we're in course to finish like 14th this season, a cup win doesn't cover that up. It doesn't. It's not enough. So even when I hear fans say, well, if Amorim wins a cup this season, we can go into next season with a better mood, that didn't work for Ten Hag last season. It didn't change anything, right? And that's just the reality. Like, do I like that managers get sacked so soon? No, but it's modern football. It's just how it works. You have to perform when you come in straight away. You don't, and this thing of, well, we'll wait until he gets his full 11. You can't wait 2 years and just lose every week for those 2 years and then be like, oh, well, 2 years will be fine. It'll be fixed. Football doesn't work that way. So I still think that, okay, today we drew, but based on this current projection, right? If we carry on like this till the end of the season, whether fans like it or not, Ineos will have a decision to make in the summer whether they stick by him or not. It's as simple as that. And don't be surprised if Ineos make the decision in the summer to sack him.
Well, when it comes to Ineos making the right decision, who even knows if you can trust them to make whatever the right decision is? Recently, it's been anything but the right decision, hasn't it, when it comes to them? So who knows, Show? Who knows? Big up. Appreciate you calling in as always. Super chat from Aminor says, Show/Flex are not willing to suffer for long-term gain. Wow, be interesting to see what Aminor has to say. We'll get to him in just a second. We've got over 600 people watching. We're currently at 120 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get up to 200, 300, 400. You know how it goes. Let's go to Aminor. He just put the super chat in, so we'll go to him. Aminor, how are you feeling coming out of today's game? Wasn't a great performance, but still got a point. Is this part of the suffering? Are you prepared to suffer for long-term gain? I mean, it's the most sense you ever spoke, Aminor, because you're muted. You know, it's the most he's ever. You know, it's strong.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
You know. Yeah, I can hear you now. Strong, Aminor. You know, are you ready to suffer for the long-term gain in silence?
Sorry, yes, I am willing to suffer, but there are some snowflakes in our fan base. I'm going to call out names, Flex and Show. For me, I want to break this down 3 parts. I want to talk about fans like that, the manager and the players. When Ineos approached Amorim and said, like, it's now or never, And I know he's had 20 games to say he's not going to adapt his style of play. The performances are getting worse. I've sort of written off in my mind, and it's not written. I've adjusted my expectations for the season. So my expectations for the season is we're going to lose games. It's going to be horrible. I'm going to feel disengaged from the team. But I know that if Ineos believe this is the guy for them to implement their game model, I've got to give him to the summer and pre-season, and then judge him genuinely in October and November time next season where we are. What I mean by that is he's not going to get rid of all 11 players and then replace him with his players. No, that's not going to happen. But what I expect to do happen is that he will have time to coach with these players, continue to implement style of play. The players will adapt, and then they'll learn. Now, you'll say to me, well, I don't know, the performance is getting worse and worse. Yes, you're right, and we should. And just because the performance is getting worse and worse doesn't mean it doesn't give me the right to criticize him. Absolutely, I'm going to criticize on some of the points, especially where he's selecting players where I think that need to be dropped. For example, Rasmus Højlund needs to be dropped. Onana, in my mind, needs to be dropped as well because I just think he's a disgusting goalkeeper in my view. And Dalot needs to be dropped. Those are three players straight away that I do not understand why Amarin is persisting with. But I can criticize the manager, but that doesn't mean I've given up on the manager. But there are some fan bases like Show and Flex that they're saying, look, he needs to tweak. He needs to tweak is fine, but almost abandon his philosophy. I think if he starts doing that, I don't think they're saying that, but it's a slippery slope. If you start tweaking, and leave behind what's made you successful as a manager and what your principles are, then what are you? You're basically the next Ten Hag. So that's my first rant, Owen. Sorry, I don't know if you want to respond to that before I go talk about them.
No, I mean, I think what it goes back to is like I've mentioned this many a time, is when people say, oh, it's a write-off, or when they say I'm ready to suffer, it doesn't matter, as like even if we finish 17th, it's fine, give them to next season. It's easy to say that. It's another thing to live it, and it's another thing to actually go through it. In the same way that going into today's game, the majority of us were like, oh, we're not going to win today probably, or we're not going to get anything out of today's game. But when we're 2-0 down at half time, we're still furious. We're still furious, even though it's going to happen. So to actually go through that, it's different than just writing it off. I will say that, like I said, today was one of the first times that I worried for Amarim, more in the sense of I thought Ineos might look at that. They might pull the trigger on that. And the only conclusion I came to is I was doing kind of things in my head. I was going, but they can't afford to sack him. We've got no money. So it just felt like a very untenable situation, a weird situation that we were in.
And right, talking about the manager now, about this specific game, I had the same feeling. When it came to half-time and I saw that first half performance whereby there was no intensity at all, any of the players, and the commentator picked up that Everton, when they pressed us really well. But when we had the ball, we either didn't press or we can't string together 4 passes in a forward direction towards their goal. And the fact that we had no shots on target in the first half, I feared for Amarin there. I thought, hold on, what did you do during the week in order for the players to display that? Is it the fact that you played on a Saturday afternoon at 12:30? I don't know. But that I was genuinely feeling the first, and I was had we lost that game, and had we continued that same performance against Ipswich at home, I think there would have been major pressure on Ineos to say, look, what have you done here? But I think the fact that I don't know when, but the second half they reacted. So was it because what he said to them at halftime? Was it because of the and I think maybe partly that, because if you remember, Owen, when we used to play poorly under Ten Hag in the first half, he used to do a team talk, and the second half we came out worse. Usually, that's what used to happen. Here, we had a horrendous first half. He had a team talk. He made some substitutions, and it was only until 60 minutes onward we started playing like a team with a bit of intent. So gotta give him some credit for the manager. Obviously, negativity towards him the way the setup and why he's selecting certain players, but he did manage to sort of influence the game. So I'll give him that credit. But one last thing, Owen, is that we can't move away from the fact that there are some players that are letting us down. I've talked about 3 already, but Maguire needs to be called out again. Like, I think he was on fault for the second goal in terms of his positioning and the way he cleared it. And these players are playing, and we expect different results from them. So we can't have it both ways. We can't just say, yes, the performance is deteriorating. It's all down to the manager and his unwillingness to sort of coach them to be better. There is an element of truth in that. I'm not denying that, but look at these players, and the fact that they can turn that on after 60 minutes. You explain to me why is it that Bruno can turn on a performance like that after he scored that free kicks? And I can't explain that. So there's no rational behind it.
No, I agree, Aminor. I agree. Big up. Appreciate you calling in as always. And actually, Aminor brings up a good point there about Andre Onana. I must say, I don't know how many times I've had this conversation, and look, I'm goalkeepers union. I'm goalkeepers union, but I've said it, and I will continue to say it till I'm blue in the face, not red in the face, blue in the face. This guy's fundamental goalkeeping abilities are not good. Not good. The goal, was it the second goal we conceded? Pushes it up in the air. Right, push him up in the air. The one that we nearly conceded the penalty for with the VAR, how many times have we seen him do that? The shot doesn't parry out further enough and it becomes a scramble. And, that happens to him all the time. These shots where he puts it back in and then everything becomes a scramble, constantly becomes a scramble. As a goalkeeper, and it's not even like, because, you see Edison do for City, and he's not the best goalkeeper, but he offers them other stuff. He's got the most assists ever for a goalkeeper in the Premier League. And you go, well, I guess if you've got a lot of the ball, and you notice now that City actually do concede a bit more chances. People look at Edison. He's been dropped a couple of times this season as well because he doesn't save things. Because again, if you're conceding chances, still the fundamentals of goalkeeping is you need to keep the ball out the back of the net. You need to be good at stopping shots. And Onana can't do it. He cannot do it. It's always push back into the danger zone, push back up into the air, fumble, this, that, and the other. And his long distribution isn't that great. So what are we saying? Oh, it's good because he can do 5-yard passes and he's calm on the ball. All right, cool. But even that, we're so bad at this point that we want Bayindir in. Even that kind of gets looked over recently. That it was like, oh, good, Bayindir's playing this game. It's not like Bayindir's great. He's not that great. He obviously had the great game against Arsenal, but let's be honest here. He's not Manchester United's standard goalkeeper. But then what is at this point? And it just it's so. And again, it almost gets lost because sometimes when we concede goals, there's so much that's gone wrong. Like Aminor was saying with Maguire, or you're looking at how they even broke through, or a ball over the top, this, that, and the other. But at the same time, it's like, oh no, you can't. Everything constantly pushed into the areas, pushed into dangers, and it's all bullshit. It's just bullshit. Am I caught with super chats? I think I am. Oh no, Aminor said another one. Show Ridwan, are you willing to suffer? Be honest. Oh, Aminor's willing to suffer. He's willing to suffer on that channel 906. You know what I mean? That's what it's we know what Aminor's into. Apparently, suffering on channel 906 with his pillow talk. You always learn more about Aminor every week. Every week you learn more about him. Probably the less said, the better. About all of that. Anyway, let's go to another call. Swiftly moving on. Let's go to Eminem. Eminem, what did you make of what you saw today? Will you take a point? What do you think of the performance? Well, it probably speaks volumes.
Oh, I am muted again.
Yeah, muted. I thought you're doing. I thought it's like performance art. You know what I mean? Just you're stunned into silence is what it is. What did you make of all?
Yeah. I mean, 65 minutes was pure shit. That's all it was, and I genuinely was worried about Amram. And I think what most fans are seeing right now is like there's a small group that just want Amram out, but then there's a bigger group that want Amram to stay, but he needs to give us something to hold on to. And then there's others who are just out and out saying, just back the manager, despite we have to suffer. And I'm in that middle group at the moment where that he needs to give us something to hold on to. And hopefully this game we just needed that scrappy point there. We needed actually a win, but I'll take it for now. However, we do need to win. He needs to win. He needs to adapt in order to progress a bit further. And when I say adapt, not change his system entirely, but just be a bit more, just be a little bit less stubborn. Like Hoyland's not working at all. Cheeto did more in the last, was it 20 minutes that he came in? You could see Cheeto and even Xerxes got better after Hoyland came off. He was passing better, was linking up better, and then Garnacho was also much better, except that he was just made the odd bad decision, but he was better with the ball. So there are these decisions that he needs to make just to adapt the style, just be less stubborn, so we can actually move on with the game. And even if it's a draw, if we take a scrappy win, we just need one or two of those just while the loss is in there as well. I know when he said that we're going to suffer, I thought it would be suffer like we'll win one game, we'll lose another game. But really, we're losing 2 games, and then we maybe win, and then we draw, and then we lose another 3. It's that sort of situation at the moment. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried, but yeah, I'll take that point today.
What did you make of the drama at the end with the penalty? Did they get that right? Were you surprised? What did you make of it all?
I think if Ashley Young took a bit of distance from Maguire to have that shirt a bit stretched and dropped, he would have got that pen. I think it looked overly like acting, but it was. I mean, if another day, it would have been against United, 100%. For any other team like that, normally you'd see that go. The penalty, it would have been a penalty, but and I don't know. The Premier League needs to keep Man United in the Prem, so we needed that.
Maybe that is what it is. I mean, I was just seeing this, yeah. So Bruno Fernandes got player of the match from TNT. I'm seeing people say Bruno is absolute shite, to be honest. Surely that's just got to be agenda. Surely that's got, I mean, and I'm not just saying this because he scored the goal, but he wasn't awful. It wasn't awful. Maybe first, like every player, probably first 45, 60 minutes wasn't good doing the Bruno stuff, giving the ball away. But we can't ignore that he literally did sort of spark the life into, our comeback, did he not?
Yeah, he pulled us out. Like the last few years, what's been happening is that it's been Rashford and Bruno who have pulled us out in moments. And Bruno is continuing to do that for us. He did that today. With that free kick, and then he was trying to control the game even further after the 65th minute. But I get why people say that he played crap, because when he lost the ball, it led to like immediately our back three were facing the attackers, but the front three of Everton, and that is a structural issue more than anything. Now that's where obviously Amram says that he's not going to compromise his principles, but he needs to put the players who we know they can't do the job, but he needs to put the players in a better position so they could cope. And we're not really seeing that at the moment. And that's why obviously a lot of these players are being called criminals, because they are, but they're being exposed even further. We really expected only like maybe half the team to be exposed as criminals, but really I said it in the chat, it's HMP Manchester United. All of them are being exposed at the moment. But it's a structural issue right now, and yeah, but he did pull us out. He dug us out, and then eventually, obviously, there were better players who were suited together on the pitch, and that also just led us to Ugarte doing that volley, and eventually showing better stuff on the pitch, whilst also still conceding chances.
Yeah, no, big up, Eminem. Appreciate you calling in as always. Yeah, I think. Maybe, to be fair, you could make an argument to say maybe not man of the match, whatever that definition is, the best player on the pitch. Okay, fair, but I think this thing of like, completely playing against us, and yeah, give the ball away. Where have you been? He does that every single game. But I mean, if he wasn't, are we saying if he wasn't playing, we would have still drawn that game today? Probably not. Let's be honest. It's do you know what it is? And it's probably boring because it's the same conversation. It's the same conversation we always have about Bruno Fernandes, which is, why do you keep him on the pitch? Because as much as he gives the ball away, then he'll do a free kick where he puts it in the bottom corner. And then, unfortunately, we don't have other players that are able to do that. We're not. Like we don't. We should have more. This is always why my frustration is of when he's having a stinker, and he should come off the pitch, but we can't take him off, because then it's, who'd you bring on? Who'd you bring on that could potentially score a free kick, pull something out of nothing. We don't have it. We don't. We've become so reliant on him making these moments since he's been at Manchester United that we go, well, we've got to keep him on to do something. It was kind of the same with Ahmad before he got hurt. Last few games, where it was like, actually, he's not playing very well, but he's been scoring goals for us this season, so we've got to leave him on. That's the Bruno problem, and it's the same today. So I don't know if it's like, playing against us or anything like that. Was he the best player on the pitch? Maybe not, but this thing of like, it was awful, absolutely awful. Well, there was a lot of competition for awful in this Man United team today. There was a lot of awful in that team. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Lil Yo-Yo. Look at this. Look at that, Lil Yo-Yo. My goodness me.
Look what this team's done to me. Look what this team has done to me. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyes.
Hypnotic.
Yeah. I hate this team with every fiber in my body, Owen.
Well, there was a lot of. I don't know if you saw this on the match view. Casey walked off set saying, "I hate Dallo,"
Yes.
and Flex was going, "No, you can't. You can't say hate. You're happy with the word hate. Why do you hate this team?"
Because it took a free kick from Bruno to spark everything for the last 20 or so minutes. Before that, it was that was torture. I'd rather go to prison than watch that again.
With those eyes.
That's how mad these guys. Yes, with these eyes. That's how mad this team has made me. It's horrendous. And whilst I understand people that give critique to Amorim, and it's rightfully deserved, these players, yeah. This is something I've been saying for a while, yeah. This Ten Hag revisionism, yeah, telling us that it was so great under Ten Hag. These criminals were doing the same for Ten Hag. Ten Hag brought us to where we are today, and then Amorim has added to it by playing his own way. And Ineos have said, no, we want this guy. He plays a certain style, but we haven't got the players that fit the profile.
Well, Leo, it's because we were so good in 4-2-3-1 earlier this season.
Clearly,
we were really good in 4-2-3-1. So we've got to go back to it. That's what we've got to do. You know what I mean? It's
clearly 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. That's gonna fix everything, guys. We're gonna score more goals. We're gonna have more assists. Everything's gonna be great. Perfect.
Everything's gonna be fun, and I'm glad this guy showed up. Because he doesn't do it.
Yeah, of course he does.
He says, Joe Blackman says, "Why are you talking about Ten Hag, Lil Yo-Yo, with the eyes?" Joe Blackman,
your ex doesn't love you. Your babes don't love you. THDL doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, why are you trying to keep that still going, man? That's old. That's old stuff.
Yeah, it's old news.
It's old news. And also with the Joe Blackman situation, I mean, there were excuses for him not showing up, right? He's got no leg to stand on, does he not?
Mm.
He
wants a retrial, so we're going to figure it out when that happens. Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned.
I don't like, the reckless legal system getting bogged down in appeals, and frivolous lawsuits.
You get used to it. You get used to it.
It's not right, though. Yeah, it's not right. You know what I mean? With his goggly eyes, it's not right. Joe Blackman, it's not right. And the worst thing is, by the way, when Joe Blackman does actually go into the full view, it's going to be a whole thing. It really is. It's going to be a whole we'll just be talking about these shows, and it'll be a madness. Where are we at? If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's get to 200 likes. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Chalaboy Comics. We got a draw. About. What did you make of it all?
That was a tough game to watch. Again, good to see you again.
Yes.
Before I continued, I had to wake up at 4:30 a.m. to watch this game. So it was brutal. I almost didn't, make this call, but I was like, screw it. Let's get here. But I'm just happy we didn't lose. That's the main thing. It was very disappointing. to watch as a game because the level of football wasn't good enough, to be honest. But I don't know. You wanted your sort of like leaders in the of the team to step up and play really well, and I think you could say Bruno did towards the end. However, his general play, his work rate, and generally the team's work rate off the ball just wasn't good enough. So, we were let off the hook because if this was a better team, we'd probably lose this game like 4 or 5-0. But the fact that we managed to stay in the game for long enough until we woke up was very lucky. But the fact that we did, then allowed us to actually, get opportunities to possibly win the game. And it was just a terrible game in general, but happy with a level of resolve that was shown by the team.
Do you worry, or did you have worries at certain points in that one, like I did, in the sense that when we were 2-0 down, half-time, sort of 60 minutes going, this is starting to get bad, or this is starting to get worse, and are people going to get itchy trigger fingers at this point? Did you have that worry at any point today?
Yeah, I had the worry based on the level of play we were showing off the ball. That was it felt like we were, what's the word? We were just lethargic. We weren't the fact that we were only down 2-0 was the only thing that was giving me a saving grace. I feel like if you just look at the actual play, we were like dead and buried, and it was only, I want to say maybe it was Xerxes, Ugarte that was sort of like, doing decently. So yeah, I was nervous. I was nervous about, the, like, I didn't see the win coming, but the fact that it was only 2-0 was what was like, oh, we can play this badly and still the game is within reach. So it was poor. I was scared for Amorim in the sense that the fan sentiment and the attacks we'd have gotten was was going to get toxic, because my dad actually called me during the game and he was like, oh yeah, Amorim has made United worse. And I'm like, no, it's not. He hasn't made us worse. Like, we're just bad because the players have played. And he's like, but at the end of the day, he was brought in to right the ship and it's gotten worse. So it's on him. So my dad, it's turning with my dad, you can imagine the Old Trafford faithful and things of that nature. So it was tough, but I think more so than it being on Amorim, I was a little bit upset with like the senior players. That was who, was I felt was responsible mostly, because the passing, the level of quality shown was just not good enough. And no matter what the tactics are, you have to still win your individual battles. The fact that Maguire let the ball dangle in the air, the fact that Bruno, I think on Doucouré's goal, like just gave him a glancing look and didn't track back with intensity. Those levels of mistakes don't happen because Amorim says you have to play with 3 at the back or not 3 at the back. That just comes down to will and desire. That being said, I do want to highlight that there was one positive that I got from this game, and that was Dorgu, in the sense that you can just tell how much stronger and more physical he is from the rest of the team, right? You can see the level of physicality is just, there's a key difference between him and every other player on our team. And the fact that you're like, okay, who else can match that level? And it's hard to come by. Maybe Garnacho with his pace, but not really in terms of like physical strength. So, it shows that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the transfer window. And it sort of made me at least give credit to Ineos, at least for one thing, because once, I think it was the City game, when we beat them 2-1, I remember I was like, all my homies hate, Jim Ratcliffe, and I didn't want to go down into it because I was like, we've won, but they just haven't given me so much confidence, and so I just want to give credit where credit is due. I think Dorgu was a good buy, and we need to continue in that vein, next summer window, to have players that have that level of physicality. So yeah, it was, Xerxes as well. didn't have his best or sharpest game, but I can feel him getting a little bit more confident within the team. So if there's a couple things to highlight as a positive, it's those. But in general, De Ligt, Bruno, just wasn't happy, Maguire, with the level of performance we saw today.
No, but it's a point. We'll take it. We don't often speak after actually getting points. We'll take it, Channel Boy Comics. We'll take it indeed. Big up. Appreciate you as always. A couple of super chats here before we wrap things up. Zamiasi. I mean, has it got that bad? Zamiasi's actually coming up to us for draws now as well. Bloody hell. With the laughing pair. Well, you know, like KG said on the match view, you know, White Yardie was in there. Precedent's been set. I mean, that's an invisible line they stepped over today. You know, when you're losing, you might go into the studio. I've been there. You might go into the studio and sort of wave off camera, you know, give the fingers, whatever. But when you step onto the live set, hey, that's a risky place to go. That is a risky place to go. Precedent's been set. Interesting what's going to happen there. Amanor with just, you know, a typical Amanor super chat that I can't put on the screen, obviously. But let's just say it references incarceration and also dropping of sort of a scented, you know, thing you would use maybe in the shower or the bath. You can get what he's trying to reference there. You know, it's Amanor. It's what time is it? It's not actually 15:34. It's 9:06. Of course, that's what time it is for Amanor every single time. So there you go. So big up, guys. We did actually get a point today at Goodison Park. What's on tap for the remainder of the day and the weekend? There'll be fan views coming out from Flex and KG from inside UBHQ, as well as player ratings. Tomorrow, there'll probably be like a Flex's view or something like that. Monday, we'll be back 9 a.m. live morning view, as well as the red carpet at 7 p.m. There'll be a lot to talk about. But I tell you what, at least the weekend's not completely ruined, right? At least the weekend's not completely ruined. Usually it would be like, oh, you know, that would have, if the game had ended at halftime, my weekend would have been pretty shit. But, you know, I would take a point and we'll go from there. Big up to everyone, and I'll speak again very soon. I'm out of here. Peace.